Cool, let's check out the castle. But first we'd better get an idea about how to get there. Let's check the map. I love when there's only two choices. See if you can find Tintagel on our map of England. Then click on the compass point marked E if we need the eastbound train to get there from London, or W if we hop on the westbound train. Yay. There's nothing to the east except, like, Scotland Yard and shit. Everything's on the west. Like Wales, I'll never forget. That's right, Tintagel is way down in Cornwall on the west coast. We'll take the westbound train to get there from London. Hey, Cornwall, we can stop and stalk Inspector Linley. Oh, I wonder if Linley and Gage know each other. Wow, look at this place. Can't you just picture what it must have looked like hundreds of years ago, filled with knights and ladies of the court? Yeah, for sure. I don't see anything except this, like, dilapidated wall. God, he's so 80s. Look at that hair and that mustache. Souvenirs. Get your souvenirs here. Guidebooks, maps, authentic stones from King Arthur's birthplace. King Arthur's birthplace? Are you sure? Look at this crazy motherfucker. He's like out here all by himself in this shoddy booth. As sure as a man can be about a feeling in his bones. I couldn't prove it. No one has yet. But I'm sure that old Tintagel was the true Camelot, where Arthur made his home. Where there's smoke, there's fire, as they say. That means that old stories are usually based on a little bit of truth. I think this place makes as fine a setting for the stories of Merlin, Arthur, and Guinevere as any. Crazy. The guidebook says Tintagel Castle was built about... Oops. Whatever, that was boring anyway. It says here that all these little tiny rooms down there are the remains of an old Celtic monastery. Creepy. I bet this place is really spooky after dark. I bet Aaron and Felix totally take the train to hang out here for the day. It's even better than the boneyard. It says here that no proof has ever been found to back up the legend that King Arthur was born here. Whoever wrote this guidebook thinks that legend was made up by medieval writers with great imaginations. The castle of Tintagel is now almost completely ruined. The ancient battlements have fallen, but you can still see the outline of the castle walls in the tiny underground rooms called catacombs. The main part of the castle was built on a rock island overlooking steep cliffs and the crashing fury of the sea below. The castle is connected to the mainland by a bridge. Steep rocky paths, blah, blah, blah. All right, if you think that the scroll is real, pick the clues that best prove it. If you think it's a fake, pick clues that best show who's trying to pull the wool over Mr. Sneed's eyes. Psh. Mr. Sneed didn't fall for that for a second. He was like, Mrr. Giggles, come look at this. Oh, we're back to dentist stalls. And David stalls. Great! Now if you think the scroll is real, pick King Arthur. If you think the scroll was made by some fat ass who lives in his parents' basement, pick him. You got it! That ancient scroll was a fake. Mr. Stalls wrote it himself as a publicity stunt. That scroll that Mr. Sneed got in the mail appeared to be signed by Merlin, the magician. It said that King Arthur was born in 1032 A.D. at the castle of Tintagel. Whatever. I'm American. I don't know how to pronounce anything. But the guidebook we got at Tintagel said that the castle wasn't even built until 1145 AD, over 100 years later. Mr. Sneed had his suspicions about the scroll he received in the mail. That's why he decided not to tell anyone about it, except Aunt Miranda. I thought he was best friends with Uncle Basil. Like, Uncle Basil didn't know anything. His best friend didn't tell him. His wife didn't tell him. He's just like, sitting here in the library, researching about druids. But when we went to talk to Mr. Stalls, first name unknown, in Covent Garden, he knew all about the scroll, and he had even stocked up his store with Tintagel souvenirs. He must have sent the fake scroll to the British Library himself. He just wanted to sell you some cheap, crappy castles. Arthurian hoax exposed. A falsified ancient scroll proclaiming the birth of... Look, now it's just Mr. Stall. It's not even Stalls, it's just Stall. Eli Mysteries in London, why are you so shitty sometimes? God. That's the fourth brother. Tintagel Castle was exposed as a fraud yesterday by intrepid young sleuth Carson Drew. They have a really loose definition of the word young. I had my suspicions about the authenticity of the scroll, said Mr. Sneed, head librarian at the British Library, but it was Carson who proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the letter was a phony. Carson's research into Tintagels and King Arthur exposed the letter's author as well. Exposed the letter's author as well-known publicity hound Mr. David Stall. Still no S. Not to be confused with Dennis Stalls, of the Knights of the Modern Round Table. Who knows, said Mr. Stall. I may have pulled it off. Oops. Who knows, said Mr. Stall. I may have pulled it off if I'd done my homework like Carson. Oh man, wait, how did I go backwards? What? There's so many things wrong with that mystery.